I drained my savings account of over 2 decades, mortgaged both my house and my car, all to lift my daughter onto a path that led her straight into the Ivy League, from undergrad to a master's degree. But just 3 months into her new job after graduation, she snapped at me. Said it was irresponsible of me not to buy her an apartment in the city. Over the phone she shouted, "Poor people shouldn't have kids. If you can't even afford a place for your child to live, what makes you think you're fit to be a parent?" The moment she hung up, I opened Instagram. Her latest post popped up first. She was striking a pose in Central Park, holding a limited edition Chanel handbag. The caption read, "The first lesson of adulthood is learning to be kind to yourself." That sentence pierced me like a needle to the eye. And my heart sank like a stone. For over 20 years I worked myself to the bone. Picking up extra shifts, working nights, juggling 2 nursing jobs just to keep us afloat. But who was ever kind to me? Was I nothing more than a stepping stone for her to become who she is today? I retired early at 57. Finally walked away from the night shift at a community hospital in Pittsburgh. Heather had just graduated from Columbia. She texted me with a screenshot of her new job offer. She'd landed a role at an international firm in Manhattan. Decent pay, she said. I was sitting at the kitchen table when I read it. My eyes welled up instantly. Thought I made it. As a single mom, I fought through everything and got her there. When Heather was 10, I finally couldn't take it anymore. I left the man who used his fists more than words, took her with me and started over. Every dollar since every decision I made was for her. I planned, I worried, I sacrificed for her future. Now I had a small apartment, an old car, and a modest retirement fund. It was finally my turn to breathe, to do something just for myself. I wanted to see the waterfalls at national parks. Drive west all the way from New York to Yosemite. That had been my dream since I was young. I was so excited to share my plan with her. But before I could even open my mouth, she said, "Mom, I've decided to buy a place on the Upper East Side. Can you help with the down payment?" I froze. The Upper East Side? That's prime real estate in Manhattan. Who could afford that? I hesitated. "How much are we talking?" She answered like it was obvious. "About $300,000 for the down payment. You could help cover that. For the mortgage you could chip in a bit too. I'll handle a small part myself." I sucked in a breath. 300,000? Do you even know how much I have? She replied instantly, "Didn't you say you still have close to $150,000 in your account? If you sell your current place back home, that should cover it. You can keep whatever's left for yourself." For a moment I thought I'd misheard. Where would I live? "Are you suggesting I move in with you?" He shot that down right away. "No need. You've still got savings, a pension, and your stocks. You can just rent a small 1-bedroom somewhere cheap. You don't need to worry." My fingers trembled. My chest felt hollow, like the air had been sucked right out of it. The money I had scraped together over decades of frugal living, she saw it as nothing more than startup capital I owed her, a stepping stone she could demand without question. I clenched my jaw, trying to stay calm, but my voice still shook. "Heather, you're asking me to sell my house, give you every last dollar of my life savings for your down payment, and then spend my old age renting? I raised you without ever asking for anything in return. And now the only thing on your mind is my retirement money." I expected her to fall silent, maybe look a little ashamed. But it was like I'd touched a raw nerve. Heather snapped, her voice sharper than before. "So you had me just to hold it over my head later? Did I ask to be born? Was that my choice? If someone has no money, no resources, they shouldn't drag a child into this world. Do you have any idea what it felt like growing up constantly deprived? Everyone else had the latest phones, I didn't. I had to skip meals just to afford a pair of AJs. You think that's a normal childhood? Poor people don't deserve to be parents." Her voice kept rising, like she was trying to drown out her own guilt. Or maybe she really believed she was the victim of some cosmic injustice. Her face on the screen was twisted with emotion, almost unrecognizable. Where had that little girl gone? The one who used to come home from school and give me back rubs, who once told me she'd be my sweet little angel when she grew up. I tried to reach her, to find some warmth in the rubble. "Heather, do you really believe I wasn't good to you? I got you piano lessons when you said you wanted to learn. I picked up extra shifts so you could attend summer programs. You liked expensive steak, so I saved up and stood in line to take you. Don't those memories mean anything to you?" My voice was getting lower, hoarser, cracking at the edges. But she was unmoved. If anything, her tone turned colder. That's what you were supposed to do. You're my mom, aren't you? Stop acting like you made some grand sacrifice. You know why my life feels so tight and suffocating? Because you couldn't give me more. Other parents buy their kids houses, give them cars. And you're already retired and dreaming about living your life? My friends' parents are still teaching at universities in their 60s so their kids can afford mortgages. And you tap out at 57. Her words came fast and merciless like gunfire, each one pushing me deeper into the ground. I opened my mouth to respond, but the line went dead. All that was left was a cold, final beep. I stared at the phone screen, stunned. The world around me suddenly fell silent, except for the soft ticking of rain against the window pane and the slow, numbing thud of my own heart. The last time Heather and I had shared anything close to warmth was just a week ago on her birthday. I'd sent her a simple text in the morning, "Happy birthday, sweetheart," along with a $1,000 transfer. Just something for her to treat herself to a nice dinner or pick out a gift. She replied with a cute animated sticker, a blinking bunny hugging a heart. Looking at it now, I froze. For a moment, I saw a glimpse of the Heather I used to know. When she was little, she loved cuddling up in my lap, wouldn't fall asleep unless I read her the same story twice. Back then, I believed as long as she grew up safe and happy, no amount of sacrifice was too much. But now, staring at that virtual bunny, I felt a strange sense of detachment, like I was looking at someone else's child. When had that little bunny wandered off? Was it me? Had I grown old, out of touch, unable to keep up with the world she lived in now? The thought sent me to Heather's Instagram page. She updated it constantly, almost every day had a new post. I scrolled until I saw her latest upload. Timestamp 3 minutes ago. She was wearing a crisp white dress, standing in heels by a boutique window on Fifth Avenue. Draped across her arm was a Chanel handbag I recognized immediately. I'd seen it in fashion magazines. That model started at $6,000 minimum. Her caption read, "The first rule of adulthood, spend on yourself. You're worth it." I stared at that sentence for a long time as if my brain had forgotten how to process words. Spend on yourself? What was she trying to say? That she was financially independent now? Self-sufficient? That she made it on her own? I scrolled down to the comments. Such a queen. Living the dream. That bag is everything. It's been sold out forever. They're only selling it with purchase quotas now. And you got it? Slay. Just started working and already rocking Chanel? How'd you pull that off? Got a good sales associate. My fingers tightened around the phone. How did she pull that off? Really, how else could she have? Heather was nothing more than a freshly minted graduate, still technically interning as a junior business assistant. Her pre-tax monthly salary barely cleared $5,000. After rent on a one-bedroom in Manhattan, where prices are borderline criminal, plus food, transit, and daily expenses, there was barely anything left to save. That handbag, that white dress, those Jimmy Choo heels, I did the math. There was only one way she could afford all of it. The steady stream of living expenses she kept siphoning from me. During those first few months after graduation, when she struggled to find a job, she fell apart emotionally. One night around 3 a.m. she called me sobbing, asking if she was worth anything at all. My heart broke. I was terrified she'd hurt herself. So I started wiring her $1,500 a month, just to help her through the transition. She even said thank you, said once she had a stable job she wouldn't ask again. But not even 2 months into her new role, the tone changed. "Mom, I don't have anything for fall yet. Mom, my friends and I are planning a trip to Napa, but I'm short on cash. Mom, dinner plans changed last minute and now the Uber will cost more." Each time she said it so casually. And each time I didn't question it. My account still had a little cushion. I was living alone in the house back in Pittsburgh, no real expenses to speak of. I figured, who else was I saving for if not her? A couple hundred here, a few hundred there. Why nitpick? But now, staring at her post bragging about how she takes care of herself, I felt a chill I couldn't quite name. I looked down at myself, wearing a discounted Costco t-shirt, $10 canvas sneakers from the grocery store, and a straw tote bag I'd bargained for at a flea market. She looked like an influencer wrapped in high-def filters. I looked like an extra who wandered off the wrong set. I kept scrolling through her profile. A Burberry trench. Dior sunglasses. A Tiffany pendant. None of it added up to an intern's paycheck. One of her followers left a comment. Is your mom some kind of old money socialite? She replied, not at all. My mom's just an ordinary nobody. More importantly, I never depend on anyone. I let out a laugh. Not the kind that comes from joy. The kind that breaks something inside you. You never depend on anyone? Did you ever stop to think? Who was pulling 12-hour night shifts in the ER, then rushing straight to your school for a parent-teacher conference? Who was turning every saved penny into a little piece of dignity for you to wear? You say you've learned to treat yourself well. But have you ever stopped to think? Maybe the one person who needs to be treated well is the woman who's never lived a day for herself? I sat on the old couch in my living room, staring at the ceiling, my chest burning with a silent fire I couldn't spit out. That night I didn't sleep a wink. The next morning, just as I stepped out of the kitchen with my first cup of coffee, my phone lit up. It was a text from Heather. Mom, I'm sorry. I was emotional yesterday. Don't be mad, okay? She added a crying laughing emoji followed by that same cartoon bunny, arms wide for a hug. I stared at that bunny for a while, the image of her as a child flashing through my mind, how she used to wrap herself around me like a koala, beg for bedtime stories, always 2 in a row. Back then all it took was an apology to melt me. No matter what she'd said, one "I'm sorry" would turn me to mush, like an overcooked pot roast falling apart at the touch of a fork. But today I didn't feel like forgiving her. I replied, got it. I'm not mad. Flat. Dry. Like a leaf blown to the curb. Then I tucked the phone in my pocket, grabbed my tote and walked to the nearby market. I made my rounds and picked up 2 sea bass fillets, a bundle of fresh asparagus, a box of strawberries and, just this once, a bottle of imported extra virgin olive oil I'd always passed on before. Checkout Marcia, my nosy neighbor, was in line behind me. She glanced at my basket and teased, wow, Evelyn going all out today. Is Heather coming to visit? You cooking her something special? Without looking up I said, no. This is for me. She raised an eyebrow, half grinning. Since when do you treat yourself like this? I shot her a glance and lifted my bag a little higher. After working all my life I finally retired. Why shouldn't I eat well? Do I have, for others only, tattooed on my forehead? She let out a laugh. Okay, you got me there. I just meant, you never used to spend on yourself. Snoo, that's all. I had to be nosy. I gave a tight smile, not wanting to keep the conversation going. Just then my phone rang, Heather again. I waved at Marcia. I gotta go. And without another word I turned and walked straight out of the store. I closed the door behind me and tapped the answer button. Mom, why haven't you replied to my texts? Heather's voice came through the line, syrupy sweet, her usual tone when she was about to ask for something. She'd perfected this performative softness, the kind that used to melt me every time, make me say yes even when I shouldn't. I cleared my throat and deliberately flattened my tone. I was out getting groceries. Phone was in my pocket. What do you need? There was a pause. Then she said a little hesitantly, oh, it's nothing big. I might take a few days off next month to go to Europe with some friends. Just to unwind, you know? I was wondering if you could help cover some of the travel costs. I didn't respond right away. My eyes wandered to the photo hanging on the living room wall, Heather's first birthday. I was holding her in my arms when the picture was taken. Back then she didn't want to go anywhere unless I went with her. If I left the room she'd cry like her whole world was ending. No. Now she's planning a European vacation, and the first person she thought to bring along was her friends, not her mother. You're 25, Heather, I said slowly. You can't keep coming to me for money every time you want something. You've got your own life now. And it's time I started living mine. I'm planning a road trip next month. Gonna hit a few national parks. It's probably going to cost me a bit. So this time, you'll need to fund your own getaway. I've worked my whole life. I pushed through until you graduated. And now I want to start treating myself right. Silence on her end. For a second I thought she might understand. That she'd say, Mom, you deserve it. Go for it. But no. Her voice came back sharp, incredulous. Wait, what did you just say? You're going on a road trip? Alone? At your age? Shouldn't you just stay home and rest? What if something happens? Who do you think will have to clean up the mess? Her words picked up speed, slicing the air. If you've got that kind of money to waste, why not save it up and help me with a down payment? Wouldn't that give you more peace of mind in the long run? My temples started to throb. I raised my hand and cut her off. Enough. I'm 57, Heather. I still hike mountain trails. I can run a half marathon. Meanwhile, you get winded climbing stairs. I can take care of myself. You don't need to worry. And for the record, this is my money. I earned every cent of it. I'll spend it however the hell I want. And if anything does happen, I'll hire a nurse. I won't be dumping my problems on you. I hung up before she could get another word in. I didn't want to waste another second of my life on that conversation. As the screen went dark, the room fell into blessed silence. But this time, that silence wasn't filled with expectation. Or even disappointment. It was filled with something steadier, heavier, resolve. That phone call had erased whatever lingering hope I had left. But strangely, I didn't feel crushed. There was no pain, just clarity. For most of my life, I existed only as someone else's support system. I never asked what I wanted, what I needed. But now, I want to live differently. Life isn't just about raising kids, keeping families together, or fitting into a role. First and foremost, it's about living for yourself. So I started learning how to make myself happy. I booked a reservation at a trendy Michelin-starred restaurant downtown. I wore a new dress I'd been saving for someday, sat by the window alone, and ordered a steak and a glass of white wine. I made an appointment at a high-end spa and went through the full lineup: aromatherapy, hot stone massage, deep tissue oils. 57 years on this earth, and that was the first time I ever lay on a bed that smelled like lavender instead of antiseptic. I even went to the local art center and got professional portraits taken. Dressed in a deep red silk blouse, hair piled high, lips painted a bold shade of red I'd never dared try before. The photographer looked at me and said, "You've got so much presence. You're seriously cool for your age." I almost laughed. Not because I needed the compliment, but because for the first time in my life I had a photo of myself smiling. And that smile wasn't for anyone else. It was mine. I started checking off little dreams I'd never voiced out loud. I took online courses on how to prep for solo road trips. Learned how to pick car gear, use navigation apps, read up on park passes and weather systems. I joined a Facebook group for retired female drivers, women in their 60s still cruising across the country in RVs like they owned the highway. And I gave myself a new name online: Auntie Ev on the road. I drove through the winding mountain roads of Ohio, passed under the tunnels of West Virginia, and pitched my tent beside a quiet river valley in Tennessee. Along the way, I filmed short videos, little snippets of my solo journey, and posted them on Instagram and YouTube Shorts, adding breezy background music and writing captions that came straight from the heart. At first, no one watched them. My camera work was shaky, my framing was off, and half the time I forgot to plug in the mic. But I didn't care. I wasn't filming to go viral. I was filming to leave behind a record, my first real proof that I was living life for myself. Then I posted a clip of myself standing at the Yosemite Falls overlook. The mist sprayed my face and I held up my phone to the camera and said, "First time seeing Yosemite Falls at 57. Is that too late?" I didn't expect it to go anywhere. But it exploded. Likes, shares, comments, they poured in like a flood. I was 42 when I took my first flight. Not too late. I was 65 when I finally learned how to order takeout. Life doesn't have a required starting line. My grandma just figured out PayPal and helped me score Black Friday deals. I sat outside my tent, perched on a little folding chair, reading every single message until my eyes blurred with tears. Because suddenly I didn't feel so alone. There were so many of us, people like me, trying to reboot our lives inside this freedom that came late but came nonetheless. In those voices, I heard the long muted echo of women like me, ordinary women the world had overlooked for too long. After that, I started taking my channel more seriously. I learned how to edit videos, add subtitles, use a tripod, study angles and light. Gradually, my content began to look polished, purposeful. Within a month, my follower count shot past 100,000. A few videos hit 1 million views. Brands even reached out, asking if I'd collaborate on campaigns to promote lifestyle for mature women. I never imagined that at this age I'd discover a whole new way to earn money. And I certainly never imagined there'd be a community out there. People who actually wanted to stop and watch and listen because of me. Turns out 57 could be a beginning. That day I just arrived at Yosemite National Park. The morning air was crisp with mountain chill, and sunlight began to pierce the pine canopy one golden sliver at a time. It was my 58th birthday. To be honest, in all my years I had never really celebrated a birthday that was just for me. As a kid, my parents would plan cakes and happy meals for my younger siblings when their birthdays came around. But mine? Just another day. No one mentioned it. No one remembered. I used to think they'd simply forgotten. Later I realized, they never thought to begin with. Over time I almost forgot the date myself. Birthdays became just another box on the calendar. That is, until Heather was born. When she came into my life, birthdays suddenly became important again, but only hers. Every year I planned her birthday like it was a full-blown production. Homemade cakes, wrapped presents, photo-worthy dinner parties with her friends. I'd sneak around to hang colorful balloons trying to make everything perfect. I poured into her every ounce of care and joy I'd been denied on my own childhood birthdays. Because deep down I believed that if I gave her the birthdays I never had, I could rewrite something in myself too. Every time I watched those kids gather around Heather singing, "Happy Birthday," I'd find myself discreetly wiping the corner of my eye. It wasn't sentimentality for her. It was grief, for the little girl who never had anyone sing to her. For me. But now. I don't need anyone to plan a celebration for me anymore. Real celebration is being honest with yourself. Treating yourself with kindness. Not waiting hat in hand for someone else to remember you exist. So this time I gave myself a gift. To witness with my own eyes, the sunrise over the peaks of Yosemite. The night before I posted on Instagram. Heading out at 5:45 a.m. tomorrow to catch my first sunrise over the mountains. The comments rolled in. Bundle up. It's windy at the top. This time of year, 6 a.m. is perfect timing, don't rush. Auntie Ev, don't forget to get us a good shot of the view. I was replying one by one, smiling at the warmth of strangers, when a familiar username popped up. It was Heather. She'd commented, "Mom, you're going to see the sunrise and didn't tell me?" The comment section exploded. Wait, this is Auntie Ev's daughter? I've been following this stylish queen for months. She's your daughter? What kind of iconic mother-daughter combo is this? One wears designer in NYC, the other chases sunrises in national parks. Literal dream team. Ev's the real winner. Beautiful, creative daughter. Heather wins too. Her mom is the view. I wasn't planning to reply. I didn't want to feed the fire. But then a text popped up instantly. From Heather. "Mom, what hotel are you staying at? I'm coming over now, let's watch the sunrise together, okay?" I stared at that message. Blinked. Then typed back. "You're in California?" "Yep. I saw your post and booked a flight right away. I can even help shoot your video. I just want to see the sunrise with you. Can't I? Or, are you still mad at me?" My eyes hovered over those words. Are you still mad at me? If I said I didn't care, I'd be lying. Did she remember today was my birthday? Or was this just about the viral post? Was she here to ride the wave? I couldn't be sure. But in the end, I sent her my hotel location. Not even an hour later, there was a knock at the door. I opened it and there she was. Heather. Sunglasses on, wheeling a carry-on, smiling like it was the happiest accident in the world. "Mom, aren't you going to hug me? I flew all the way here for this." I couldn't help a small smile. I reached out and took her suitcase. "What are you doing here? Weren't you supposed to go to Europe with your friends?" She latched onto my arm and leaned in, all charm. "They're chill. Plans changed, can't I spend time with you instead?" I nodded but said nothing. Then she tugged open her suitcase with a flourish, pulling out a camera, a lightweight tripod and a pile of video accessories. She laid them out on the coffee table like a magician preparing a trick. "Look how prepared I am. You're gonna get some epic sunrise shots tomorrow." I blinked at the gear. "You brought all this just to take photos of me?" He gave me a coy grin. "Not just that. I've got another surprise for you. You'll find out tomorrow." Her smile was dazzling. But something in my gut tightened with unease. I looked at her and almost said it. "Do you remember today's my birthday?" But I swallowed the question. Because if I didn't ask, I wouldn't have to hear the answer. And maybe, just maybe, I could still hold on to the moment. But life as always had its own plans. And whatever I was hoping for, it didn't take long to fall apart. After we left the hotel and headed to the viewpoint, Heather didn't stop directing me for a single moment. She dictated what I should wear, how to style it, where to stand, how to smile. Pine trees on the left, mountain peaks on the right, she'd say, waving her arms like a stage director. One instruction after another, relentless. I had only wanted to celebrate my birthday with the mountains, the fresh air, and some peace. Instead, I became a prop in her content creation plan. I told her before, my videos are raw. No lights, no cuts, no filters, no scripts. But she still insisted I repeat after her in front of the camera. Hi everyone, I'm Auntie Ev, and today we're visiting the world-famous Yosemite National Park. I finally stopped walking. Do I really need to recite your lines now? I came here to see the view, not to be your marionette in a branded shoot. She pouted, dragging out her words. Mom, it's the last one, please, just this one short clip. I took a deep breath, forcing the growing frustration down into my chest. I nodded and kept going, letting her direct me through yet another retake. After multiple angles, location swaps, and photo reshoots, we finally made it to the overlook before the sun fully crested. The golden light poured across the ridge, illuminating the valley in radiant gold. It should have been my moment. A quiet, personal celebration. Instead, all I felt was exhaustion and a dull hollowness. When I finally had a moment to myself, I sat down on a bench and pulled out my phone. Heather had already posted on Instagram. Sunrise with Mom, another one checked off the bucket list. 12 pictures. 10 of them were polished shots of her striking poses in the morning light. The remaining 2, one of her I had taken and one landscape shot. No photo of me. No mention that it was my birthday. The warmth that the sunrise had sparked in my chest was doused in an instant. And as if on cue, Heather leaned over and chirped, Mom, you should post too. Tag me so I can share it, okay? I rubbed my temples. I just wanted to get it over with. Seconds later, she was airdropping me photos. Mom, these are the best ones I picked for you. Use all of them, okay? And the caption should say. I cut her off sharp. My account is for me. Mostly nature. If you want to post your photos, use your own page. Her smile froze. Mom, seriously? I even mentioned you in mine. I looked at her. Delete it if you want. I really don't care. Her voice softened, instantly switching gears. Mom, come on. You're the best. Just this once? You've got almost 300,000 followers now and I barely have 100K. Please. I said nothing. Just tapped out a brief caption for my own post, hit publish and locked my screen. Then I looked up at her. My tone was calm but final. What else do you want from me? I took nearly 100 pictures of you this morning. I set up your tripod, stood in the wind to shield your hair, climbed the trail with these old bones. I'm one move away from throwing out my back. Is that not enough? She clearly hadn't expected that. Her expression shifted and her tone went flat. It's just a post, Mom. Do you have to make it such a big deal? You used to be different. Yes, I said, I used to let things slide. That's why you've come to see me as your stage crew, your built-in background, your unpaid assistant. But not anymore. I'm tired, Heather. You can go. I leaned back on the bench, closed my eyes and didn't say another word. Even after the sun had fully risen, we didn't leave the overlook right away. She brought it up a few more times, how I should stand on one of the large rocks nearby so she could grab just a few more shots. But the poses were risky, the ledge too steep, and I had no energy left for her demands. I humored her for a couple of quick photos, then told her I wanted to head back. We barely spoke on the way down. She walked ahead at a brisk pace, her boots crunching against the dirt, while I followed slowly, buttoning up my jacket against the cold. All I could hear was the wind rushing through my ears and the soft rustling of pine branches in the distance. Strangely enough, this trip with her had exhausted me more than the week I'd spent traveling alone. Back at the hotel, she rolled her suitcase inside and shoved it toward the wall with a dramatic thud, clearly meant for effect, like she expected me to come over, soothe her ego and smooth things over like I always did. Instead, I slipped off my coat and sank into the couch, exhaling long and hard. I felt wrung out, like my bones had gone hollow. Heather stood near the door, hesitating, her face set in a frosty silence. Then suddenly she grabbed her suitcase and stormed out, slamming the door behind her. I didn't go after her. I didn't say a word. I just sat there and watched the door quietly close. A few minutes passed. Then a knock. I figured it was housekeeping. But when I opened the door, it was Heather. She stood there looking conflicted, with something uncertain and unsettled in her eyes. "What are you doing back?" "Mom," she bit her lip. "Why didn't you tell me it was your birthday?" I didn't answer. Just tilted my head toward the ceiling light and said plainly, "What difference would it make? You remembering it wouldn't change a thing. I'm 58, Heather. I've stopped expecting people to care." "Mom," she blurted, suddenly grabbing my hand. I got you a gift. Come with me, okay?" Before I could react, she was pulling me along. We walked around the corner from the hotel, stopping in front of a cheesy-looking quick portrait studio. There were racks of gaudy costume dresses out front, fabric rough and faded, some with visible dirt stains. A sign on the wall listed prices in big letters. Professional costume portraits, starting at $19.99. Heather pointed to the outfits and said brightly, "Mom, pick whichever one you like." "My treat." The words, "my treat," came out especially loud, like they were meant to be heard by someone else, not just me. I didn't respond. Just looked at where she was standing, perfectly positioned in front of the studio's big logo. She was whispering something to the clerk, probably making arrangements. I took out my phone and opened her social media page. 3 days ago, she'd posted a photo set of herself gifting her best friend a Tiffany necklace worth over $3,000, complete with glowing captions and pictures of them hugging. "Forever my soulmate." The shop owner smiled at me kindly. "What a lucky lady. Not every daughter will bring her mom to get photos done." I lifted my phone and looked straight at them, my voice level and clear. "A thoughtful daughter who buys her best friend a $3,000 Tiffany necklace, but brings her mother to pose for $19 costume portraits," I said. "Let's not pretend this is about my birthday. Let's call it what it is. A photo op for her brand, her image, her following." The words hung in the air. Heather, who had been picking through hangers with enthusiasm, froze mid-motion. Her whole body stilled. The hanger in her hand dropped with a sharp clack onto the floor. The studio went silent. Her face flushed, equal parts shame and disbelief, as if I'd yanked the mask right off her in front of an audience. She opened her mouth to speak, but nothing came out. Her throat moved like she was trying to swallow a stone. I could see it, the effort it took to keep her face from crumpling. The slight twitch at the corners of her lips. She was fighting tears or fury, or maybe both. Even the clerk quietly turned away, pretending to organize something on the shelf, clearly wanting no part in the drama unraveling before him. I didn't look at her again. Just rolled my eyes, slow, cold, and walked out the door. "Mom. Mom." She called after me, but I didn't stop. In that moment, I understood what it meant to be completely done. Not angry. Not disappointed. Just finished. When I got back to my house in Pittsburgh, the first thing I did was call a lawyer and schedule a meeting. I was setting up an education foundation. Not to chase praise. Not to put on a show. But because I finally saw things clearly. If I had to choose between handing my hard-earned savings to a daughter who took without a trace of gratitude, or using that money to lift up children who truly wanted to change their future, the choice was easy. I signed the paperwork for the trust. Its mission was specific: scholarships, living support, and remote learning equipment for girls in underserved rural communities. Then I met with a notary and finalized my will. In black and white, it spelled out clearly: upon my passing, all property, bank assets, and investment returns would be transferred to the EC Women's Education Trust. I knew Heather wouldn't take this lying down. And sure enough, a few days later she showed up in Pittsburgh like a storm. She barely made it through the front door before her fury exploded. "Mom, what the hell is this supposed to mean?" I was in the kitchen setting down a cup of freshly steeped tea. I didn't even lift my head. "What's supposed to mean? You have money to start some bullshit foundation, but you told me you couldn't help with my down payment? Do you even still consider me your daughter?" I calmly placed the teacup on the table and finally looked up, meeting her eyes without flinching. "If you weren't my daughter, would I have worked myself into the ground for decades just to get you into Columbia? Would I have supported you month after month, even after graduation, making sure you had what you needed? I've fulfilled my duty as a mother, Heather. You're an adult now. How I use my assets is my business. You don't get to decide that for me." Her mouth twisted into a bitter smirk as she slowly nodded, her voice biting. "Fine. Then don't regret it. From this day forward, I'm not your daughter. Don't expect me to ever come back and take care of you. I leaned back in my chair, exhaled, and let my eyes close for a moment. A faint, ironic smile touched my lips. Maybe without a daughter like you, my life will be a little more peaceful. She slammed the door behind her so hard the hallway echoed. I didn't chase her. Didn't try to patch it up. But once the house fell back into silence, a weight pressed down on my chest so heavy I couldn't speak. Of course it hurt. 27 years. Every meal, every fever, every tear. And now just like that, cut off. Thought I was prepared. But hearing her say it out loud, it was a blade. Still, what I didn't see coming was her revenge. The next morning I opened my phone and nearly dropped it. My Instagram had exploded. Thousands of comments pouring in, flooding every post like someone had opened a dam. You selfish old bitch. What are you even alive for? Your daughter worked her ass off and this is how you repay her? A fake-ass charity for clout. Feeding your kid and calling it good parenting? Lady, sit down. She's no mother. She's a manipulative liar pretending to be one. At first I thought maybe someone had tagged the wrong account. Then I followed the trail of comments, back to Heather's page. She'd posted a long emotional essay titled, "When Your Mother Loves Her Public Image More Than Her Child." The cover photo was a soft filtered shot of her gazing at a sunset, artistic and melancholy. But every line of that caption was a blade pressed to my face, each sentence designed to brand me with a label I never asked for. She wrote about the pressure of surviving in New York, the crushing cost of rent, the ramen dinners, the sleepless nights, the loneliness of not having a home to call her own. She wrote that I refused to help her buy a house, but turned around and spent my savings on some education foundation, as if I cared more about strangers' daughters than my own. She wrote that everything I had ever done for her wasn't out of love, but for control. That my sacrifices were always a form of leverage. In the comments, "My God, this kind of mother is terrifying. If you want to help people so badly, don't have kids. Don't use your own family as props for your fake kindness. Sending you love, girl. No one should waste their warmth on a parent like this." I almost laughed. Almost. When she was 6, I nearly fainted pulling back-to-back night shifts at the hospital, but still made it to her ballet class to hand her water and snacks. When she studied abroad, I skipped meals to make sure not a single tuition bill was late. No. Now I was the cold, narcissistic, image-obsessed bad mom. If it had come from strangers, I wouldn't have blinked. They didn't know me. Their words were just digital noise. But this came from the very person I spent my entire adult life raising. From the girl whose head once rested on my arm as she cried herself to sleep with a fever. And now she had turned me into a caricature for the internet to rip apart. That moment didn't make me angry. It didn't hurt me like a slap. It extinguished me. Whatever ember of warmth was still flickering inside me, she poured a bucket of ice over it. For a while after that, nothing felt like it mattered. Not out of anger. Not even pain. Just emptiness. I opened my own Instagram and posted a quiet message. A statement that I was stepping back from public platforms. No rants. No drama. Just a plain account of what happened, and a firm rebuttal to Heather's twisted version of events. Whether people believed me or not, that was up to them. When I hit post, it felt like I gently closed the last door between me and the outside world. And strangely enough, silence returned to my life. No more overanalyzing every comment. No more wondering if a video would hit 100K views. No more obsessing over whether my caption had enough punch to earn one more like. I kept traveling, heading west along the interstate. Only now the photos I took, the clips I edited, didn't go to a public feed. I shared them privately with a curated list of real friends. They left comments like, "Eve, that hair color looks amazing on you. That photo of the Grand Canyon? It looks like a postcard. You're making me want to pack up and drive away from this hellhole." Some didn't say much at all. Just left a heart. And I knew, some of them envied me even if they didn't say it out loud. Their lives were buried under wedding bills for their sons, under toddler-sitting duty for their daughters' babies, under shouting matches over $3.99 onions with husbands who wouldn't even wash their own socks. That was their choice. And I had made mine. I chose to live for myself. I had seen the steaming springs of Yellowstone, heard the roar of Niagara Falls, and driven alone through the snow-covered passes of the Rockies. The scenery was breathtaking, but what thrilled me even more was this. I got to choose where I was going next. Every turn of the wheel was mine to make. Until one day I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. A director from Los Angeles. He'd found my story online. "We want to turn your experience into a series," he said. "Would you be open to licensing your story?" I was stunned. After the call, I logged into my Instagram account for the first time in weeks. And what I found took my breath away. Comments flooded my old post. "Andy, I'm so sorry. I misjudged you. Can't believe your daughter made all that up. You're the real victim. You're incredible, driving solo, giving back, and living so beautifully." Turned out Heather's carefully crafted image had collapsed, live in front of thousands. Someone who knew her in real life had exposed her truth. She wasn't some high-earning, self-made professional. She was racking up debt, swiping credit cards for luxury handbags, barely scraping by on a modest salary. The independent woman persona shattered overnight. Even our old text messages leaked. Messages where I checked on her late at night. Her replies. "Why don't you just sell the house? Stop being so selfish." People finally saw what I already knew. I wasn't some cold, withholding mother. I was the one who worked silently, gave without conditions, and swallowed every slight just to keep her life intact. She wasn't a fragile daughter battling a harsh upbringing. She was an adult who demanded endlessly, and never once said thank you. Suddenly I was no longer the villain. I was Auntie Evelyn, the mother who broke free. A symbol for women who clawed their way out from under the weight of expectation. The director's offer came with generous licensing fees and a feature role in the project. That check. It went straight into my education foundation, and funded 2 years of support for over 50 girls in remote communities. When the series aired, the response was overwhelming. Women cried into cameras. I saw myself in her story. Interview requests flooded in. I turned them all down. "I'm not good with words," I said. But the truth was, I didn't want to become anyone's mascot. To be misunderstood is part of telling your truth. I had no interest in being boxed in again. So I kept living. Kept driving. Kept giving. Heather reached out a few times. Sometimes a call. Sometimes a knock on my door. Once she stood outside sobbing like a child who'd lost her favorite toy. He said she was sorry. Said she wanted to start over. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just looked her in the eyes and said quietly, "You want a fresh start? Okay. Start by paying off your credit card debt. Work hard. Stop selling your future for shiny things. If the day comes when you've done that, come find me. I'll welcome you. But don't worry about me growing old alone. If I can't climb the stairs one day, I'll check myself into a nursing home. You won't have to lift a finger." She looked down. Didn't say a word. And I didn't ask if she'd heard me. That path is hers to walk. I'm still on it. For my 60th birthday, I stood before the Sphinx in Giza. That goddess-like stone figure I had only seen in travel ads was suddenly right in front of me. But honestly, the moment I stood there, all I could think was, so this is it. It had history, mystery, grandeur. But it was just another statue. And that's when it hit me. Life isn't about finding the moment, the idol, the symbol to chase. It's about passing through stages, letting go, and learning to say, I don't regret it. When I got home from Egypt, I parked my car in the familiar driveway. Dusk was just folding into night. Pittsburgh was quiet, the streetlight casting a soft ring of gold on my windshield. I turned off the engine, unbuckled my seatbelt, and just sat there for a while. In this 1 year, I'd seen the edges of the world. And the corners of the human heart. I'd lost a well-behaved daughter. But I'd found someone far more important. Myself. I know. A full life doesn't mean a perfect child. Or a flawless marriage. Or a house others envy. It means being able to look into the mirror and say gently, you did well. And then, letting it all go. And walking peacefully into whatever comes next.